Evet, Webrazzi TV'de canlı yayındayız şu anda. Herkesi ekran başına davet ediyoruz. Arkadaşlarımız duyuruları yapmışlardı, paylaşımları yapmışlardı. Hızlı bir sohbet gerçekleştireceğiz buradan. Çünkü şu anda burası çok kalabalık. Ve burası Webrazzi ofisi değil şu anda. Burası Webrazzi Lounge. Yakında duyurusunu yapacağız, paylaşımlarımızı yapacağız. Webrazzi ofisinin alt katında açtığımız yeni bir bölüm burası. Böyle bir sahnesi olan ve arkada toplantı odaları, küçük bir inkübasyon merkezi olan keyifli bir bölüm. Önümüzdeki günlerde bununla ilgili duyuruları yapacağız. Bugün önemli konuklarımız var bizim burada. 500 Startups ve Geeks on a Plane ekibi burada bizimle birlikteler. Aynı zamanda da Türkiye'den de 10-15 kadar girişim ve girişimcileri buradalar. Çünkü Geeks on a Plane ile birlikte gelmiş olan geeklerle Türkiye'deki girişimcileri burada bir araya getirip birazcık fikir alışverişinde ve bilgi alışverişinde bulunmalarını sağlamayı hedefliyoruz. Elbette Dave McClure burada, 500 Startups'ın kurucusu. Kendisiyle hazır buradalarken böyle bir kısaca 20 dakikalık hedefimiz bir söyleşi gerçekleştirmek. Özellikle girişimcilik, yatırım gibi konuları konuşuyor olacağız. Eğer sorularınız olursa @Webrazzi'ye, Twitter'dan @Webrazzi'ye sorunuzu gönderebilirsiniz. Elimizden geldiğince cevaplamaya çalışacağız. I said a few words in Turkish and told about Geeks on a Plane that you are here at Webrazzi Lounge, and it's good to have you here. Again, welcome.
Thanks.
To Turkey. It's your second time at our office, and I think it's your third time or something in Turkey this year. I mean,
twice this year, twice last year, actually. Yeah.
See?
So I'm almost a regular.
Yeah, you are. Seriously, yeah. Because you were one of our speakers at Webrazzi Summit as well.
Yes.
Actually, I've been seeing you for the last 2 or 3 months or something, because like you were here as a speaker, then we were at TechCrunch Disrupt Europe.
Right, in Berlin.
In Berlin, and came back here, so...
Great.
Yeah.
We made our first investment in a Turkey startup earlier this year.
Yep, and it was parlak bir gelecek, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, actually you invest in some other Turkish startups as well, but they have offices in San Francisco.
That's right. Yeah, actually Udemy and SocialWire are also Turkish founders.
So there are like totally 3 startups with a Turkish founder now.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe more. I forget.
Maybe more. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, we can get some questions via Twitter, and I told our audience to send their questions to @Webrazzi account,
okay,
so that we can maybe, if we have time, answer those questions as well. So quickly, if you can tell us a little bit about, people know about 500 Startups, obviously,
okay,
but like in general, 500 Startups and also Geeks on a Plane, brief information would be so helpful.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, so 500 Startups is a venture capital fund. We run accelerator incubator program in California, in Mountain View. Currently about 75 million under management. We started 3 years ago in 2010. And so far have invested in around 600 companies or so.
600?
600, yes. And we
are you planning to change the name of the company?
No, we're not changing the name.
1,000 startups.
Right.
Do you know what's sexy, Dave? A billion startups.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll work on that one. Yeah. So our, I guess my history. I started out as a geek and an engineer, then an entrepreneur, then a marketer at PayPal, and then I started doing angel investing. And a lot of the things we've been trying to build in 500 Startups is really things that I felt like I would have wanted as an entrepreneur. And so a lot of what we do is community and education based. We don't write big checks. Usually we're investing 50 to 100,000 US, maybe on second and third checks up to $500,000. But we believe there's a lot of talented entrepreneurs, not just in Silicon Valley, but all over the world. And part of what we're trying to do is bring best practices from Silicon Valley to other parts of the world, and also learn about best practices from other parts of the world that we can bring back to California and the US.
So when you do investments in other countries other than US, isn't it difficult to pass through all those legal stuff
It is probably very difficult, and we probably have a huge legal bill
Yeah,
as a result of that.
let's say, for example, if you find a startup here in Turkey and plan to invest in like $50,000 or something, I bet
Yes.
you're gonna pay like $20,000 or $30,000 just for legals.
We almost did, actually. We had that scenario.
Really? With parlak bir gelecek or
Yeah, well, I think, if we were only going to do a few investments in other countries, then it wouldn't make sense to do that. But we are really committed to investing around the world and for the long term. So hopefully, as we learn, efficiencies in getting, legal and accounting and finance and other things start getting better.
So I feel like you are more interested in investing into international startups than the ones in the US. I feel like that because you're doing this gigs on a plane, and whenever I see you or talk to you, you are somewhere in the world.
Right.
And why are you really into this international startup scene?
Still, probably half of our investments are in Northern California, and then another quarter of our investments are rest of U.S. But we really believe that most of the growth and the opportunity in the market is not in the U.S., particularly in Asia and Latin America, and also in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. And it takes a while, I think, to figure out those markets, to find the right people, to find great startups, and to build a track record. So, we're trying to take the long view in how we do those investments, and it may be that we're, spending the next 5-10 years to get to know people in those markets and really start building the right sets of relationships. But, we've done probably about a third of our investments so far, maybe 150 to 200 companies that are in about 40 different countries. And I think as the more we do that, the better we're going to get at identifying great people and hopefully learning how to be helpful to them.
How is the success ratio between international startups and like US ones?
It's still pretty early. I would say most of our exits have been in the U.S. so far. We did just have probably one of our biggest exits. A company called Viki was acquired by Japanese e-commerce giant Rakuten just a few months ago for about $200 million. So that was a pretty decent sized exit for an international company.
Like 50,000 or something?
Probably about 100,000, maybe 150,000 total.
Wow, great return.
It was okay.
That's why you came here with your private jets.
Not yet. Unfortunately, we have a small piece of most of the companies we invest in.
Yeah.
And even though we like to brag about the winners, there's a lot of companies that don't win that we have to average those out. So I think still venture capital is challenging to make that work on a consistent and regular basis. And again, that's something we're trying to work on. That's probably a little bit different than the traditional venture capital model, is trying to make the fund work when we see exits of maybe between $20 to $100 million, not just the $1 billion stories.
Dave Goldberg was here a couple of days ago. And he came to our office as well, and we did a live stream, a webcast with him.
Yep.
And we talked about hiring a talented team, where to start your business, and things like that.
Right.
And it was really good fun, by the way. This is the first time I met him.
Yeah.
So
he's been very successful.
Yeah, he is. He is. Like, SurveyMonkey is
It's a very big business.
Big business and really big success, because he was telling me that when he just entered the company, there were like only 12 people working, and now 200 something.
It's a very curious story, actually. I used the product more than 10 years ago when I was at PayPal, and the founder, I believe, was out of the Midwest, and it was a very small company, even though they had a large business for a while. But then in the last few years, they've really grown dramatically and raised a fair amount of capital. And I think
instead of going for an IPO, they just
I think they raised something like 800 million in capital, and I believe about half of that was debt, not just equity.
Yeah, and the valuation is $1.3 billion.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Although Snapchat's worth more, I hear.
Really? So the reason I'm saying this is, what do you suggest to startups if they're going to start their business tomorrow or next week?
Right.
Especially I'm talking about Turkish startups, obviously.
Sure.
Where should they start their company? In US or in Turkey? What are the advantages and like disadvantages, pros and cons?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's opportunities to start businesses, obviously in the U.S. and for the global market. There's also opportunities in emerging markets as well. You know, kind of my rule of thumb has been if you're in a, you know, developed economy of maybe 50 to 100 million people, that's probably a pretty large size market to get started. If you're in a developing market that's maybe 100 to 200 million, those are also pretty interesting. If you're in a country that's, you know, very small, maybe only 5 to 10 million, obviously you have to, you know, probably either be selling Lexus online or else you probably need to develop a more global approach. So I think there are big economies like the U.S. and China and other places where it's really interesting. If you want to, you know, get into those markets, it's probably best for you to move to places where you're in touch with the customers, the investors, and the employees that are necessary for those markets. But I think people overlook the opportunity sometimes in markets that are, you know, the size of Turkey or Brazil or Japan or Korea, where you really do have a fairly large audience that's local, and, you know, probably not as much competition. You know, in those markets, though, you probably also don't have as much capital availability in the U.S. and as a result of that, you probably have to have greater focus on revenue and getting to profitability than you might in other markets where you have more access to capital. So a lot of, you know, markets internationally where we're investing, a lot of the businesses we like to focus on are ones where there is a very straightforward transactional model. Either, you know, e-commerce or SaaS or sometimes paid mobile businesses. And you can still do other business models as well, but it's a little bit easier to get you know, a core line of revenue going with a smaller audience if you have transactional models early. Other larger funds may disagree with us on that philosophy, but that's how we like to go after it.
Like, I'm gonna ask a really specific question.
Yeah.
And for example, like there are some companies in Turkey, and I know some of them are here now, and they are developing software as a service.
Right.
So their sites are in English.
Okay.
So they are targeting the global marketplace.
Right.
And they have their companies formed in Turkey.
Right.
But you know that it's so easy just to start a company, just form the company in US by using one of those online services to form your company in Delaware.
Okay.
So
maybe not for a startup, but yes, probably.
yeah, so
sure it is.
I mean, like you can just start a company in Delaware for like $400 or something, and you can do it online. And in 1 week, you're gonna get all the paperwork, everything, and it's easy for a Turkish startup. I'm honestly like just want to know. I mean, so instead of, for example, when you invest in a Turkish startup, you paid a fortune just for legal stuff. So if that company, for let's say,
you must be looking at my bank account or the accounting for the legal department, because this is exactly correct.
Yeah. So if Parlak bir Gelecek had an LLC company in Delaware, it would be so much easier.
Probably
for
be
you.
a lot easier. Yes.
Yeah. And so, what do you think? Does it make sense for you? I mean, like, what do you think about Delaware companies? Is it a problem for you, or does they look? I mean, do they look cheap or something?
No, I mean, it's much easier for us as a U.S.-based investor to work with companies that already have U.S. structure. Just a lot of companies outside the U.S. don't already do that. Most of their investors are probably in the local markets. So it really kind of depends on the company where their long-term plans are, and if they are planning to go, you know, global or go to the U.S., if they're planning to raise money from U.S. investors, then it would probably make more sense to start looking at those structures.
So LLC or
we tend to focus on corporations. C corps, not LLC. We've occasionally done that in the past, but it requires a little bit more effort on the tax structure. For our investors, they need to make sure that they're not getting into any funky tax situations, and so that's why we tend to focus on that a lot.
So where do you see the potential now? I think, like you said, SaaS, for example, software as a service.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a huge amount of businesses.
I bet it's not e-commerce.
Well, actually, I think we're big believers in e-commerce. I think even though there's maybe been a negative perspective over the last year or two, I don't think buying things online is going to go out of fashion, and I don't think all businesses that sell things are bad. So it is maybe more a function of what the margins for those businesses are, what the type of competition that's available, particularly looking at the unit economics and time and expense and revenue is important. I think most of the companies that have gotten into some challenges in the e-commerce sector have raised money at very large valuations, and it's probably the financing structure which has been the challenge, not the fundamental business. So I actually think there's still huge opportunities to go after e-commerce, and really, something that I think people tend to overlook is the opportunity to do brand building, and internet marketing is a real differentiating factor. Putting up a website and selling something maybe is not necessarily that complicated, but people really building a relationship with customers that's unique and very targeted, and understanding how to do internet marketing efficiently and scalably is where I think you start to see a different class of company that can really be successful.
Maybe I'm checking questions as well.
Okay, I thought you were looking at your email because I was boring, but that's okay.
No, I'm just checking the questions because I received so many mentions and trying to filter the questions. Anyway, I'm gonna keep asking. If I find it, I'll just ask you. I'm gonna just ask a couple of few questions more, and then we're gonna finish. Say a few words in Turkish, and then get back to you. Daldık bir anda konuşmaya, herhangi bir açıklama yapmadım arada. Şu anda Webrazzi canlı yayındayız. Yani şu anda izlediğiniz bir video değil, canlı yayındayız. Biraz sonra, canlı yayın bittikten sonra video hemen devrede olacak. 500 Startups kurucusu McClure burada yanımızda. Aynı zamanda şu anda burası Webrazzi Launch. Webrazzi ofisinin alt katında açtığımız, bugün beta açılışını yaptığımız yeni bir çalışma alanımız burası. Ve burada şu anda bayağı bir insan var. İçerilerde birileri var. Çünkü hem Geeks on a Plane ile birlikte Türkiye'ye gelen ekip burada. Aşağı yukarı 20-25 kişi. Aynı zamanda da Türkiye'den 10-15 kadar girişimi ofisimize davet ettik. Geeks on a Plane ile birlikte gelen ekiple birlikte burada böyle bir fikir alışverişi ve bilgi paylaşımı ortamı sağlamayı hedefliyoruz. Hazır gelmişlerken de Dave'le hızlı bir konuşma gerçekleştirip sizlerle canlı yayında bunu paylaşmak istedik. Yayının sonuna yaklaşıyoruz. Çok uzun sürmeyecek. İşte 5-10 dakika sonra tamamlamayı düşünüyoruz. O yüzden sorularınız varsa @Webrazzi Twitter hesabımıza atarsanız hızlıca buradan sizin adınıza soruları sorabilirim. Çünkü daha sonra programı sonlandırıyor olacağız. Okay, so what about find talents, hiring a team, hiring a good team? Do you have any advice on that?
Well, it's always challenging finding great people.
And also sometimes quite expensive for a startup as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I tend to be more optimistic than most people about this. I think, particularly when I go to a lot of international markets, I think again you get this sort of model where people tend to complain about their own market not having enough talent or people, and whether that's true or not, that is the story that you have to deal with. And I think being more optimistic about that, and maybe even turning it around, I think making it an opportunity to educate people in your market, and really telling a story about why your business is interesting or great and attracting great people to come to you, rather than just assuming that you're going to be able to find awesome people and have them want to work for you just because you're an internet company. So I think a lot of the responsibility is on the founders of the company to tell their story and make that an interesting one, a great place to work, and really, hopefully good for the people's careers who are developing as well. I fundamentally believe there are talented people all over the world, and it's not like certain people of one color or one place are going to be smarter than others. It's more just tradition and maybe some cultural history around having people focus on developing their skill set. So I think with effort, anyone can build a talented group of people to start a company with. It just may take a little bit more work.
Do you really don't want people to pitch you?
Don't pitch me.
You're an investor.
Actually, yeah, this is a bit of comedy. Actually, local Turkish entrepreneur gave me this T-shirt yesterday.
Really?
Sometimes I say this whenever I've had a long day, and people have been pitching me a lot. Coming up and pitching me at a conference is probably not the most effective way to get an investment from 500 startups, but we actually do have this game we called halfbaked.com, which we like to play with everyone, where you come up with 2 words and then everybody sort of pitches that blank.com and tries to come up with a funny idea for that. It's good for...
Can you give us an example?
I don't know. You want to come up with a couple of words and then...
Yeah.
Well, Rob, give me a word.
Potato.
And yours, go.
I don't know.
Come on, you got to hurry up. Just a word.
Crisp.
Potato crisp. No, see, you were influenced by his word.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, so finance.
Potato Finance. PotatoFinance.com is a new commercial venture firm for out of Dublin, and basically this is an opportunity to finance promising young Irish entrepreneurs. We take the profits from the potato market, we tax them, and then we create a venture capital fund that's investing in Irish entrepreneurs with global market opportunities. PotatoFinance.com.
And you're based in Dublin.
We are based in Dublin, but we're a global firm.
So if I invest you like $50,000 or something, I can pay $60,000 for legals.
We have lots of tax credits available out of Dublin to make sure that we can hire the best people all over the world.
Cool, great. I love this game. We can do this. Yeah. We have a question. And actually, the question is from here. God, I have this passcode and I keep writing it wrong. Team or markets? Which one is more important for you?
Team or market? Actually, for us, the answer is neither. I mean, a lot of times people talk about product, market, team, and people tend to focus on the team being the most important thing or the market being the most important thing. And it probably is true that the team is the most important thing, but your ability as an investor to figure out whether that team is awesome is really challenging, at least in the beginning, unless you already know the people on the team. And in terms of the market, yeah, maybe you know a little bit about the market, but great teams often kind of move around with what they're going after. So for us, we really look at the product that they've built or the early prototype, in some cases, historical products that the people on that team have built. For us, their ability to build product or to execute marketing campaigns are really the evidence of that team's ability to execute and their kind of creativity and imagination. So that's usually how we are making decisions in a lot of cases. Sometimes there will actually be customer usage and revenue to also evaluate, but pretty much we have to look at the product to understand what the abilities of that team are.
Cool, thank you. You are tired. There are lots of people here. They want to meet each other, talk to each other.
Great.
So thank you for joining this live session.
You bet.
We'll be here. So if you have questions, you can definitely talk to him now, but don't pitch him. So yayını burada noktalıyoruz çünkü hem yani yorgunlar hem yani Dave özellikle çok yorgun şu anda. Hem de daha konuşacağı çok kişi var. Bir sürü insan var şu anda burada. Birbirleriyle konuşmaları gerekiyor. Biz Webrazzi Launch'tayız. Yayını burada kesiyoruz. Önümüzdeki günler tekrardan görüşmek üzere diyorum. İzlediğiniz için teşekkürler.
Great.